I'm making a change today. The liquor been taking the pain away. I heard you was giving your chain away. That's kind of like giving your fame away. What's wrong with you? I sit in a box where the owners.
Okay. What's up, guys? Kane here, back with a nice little Yu-Gi-Oh video. Got Future here. Always like looking out. He's got the face mask on because he can't see what we're about to do. There's some nonsense, absolute nonsense. Something I've wanted to do for a while is just to create a silly little fun deck that you could use just to kind of, I don't know, be a dick. Like, go to your random locals, go to something and play around with cards. I've been experimenting a lot more with just, I guess, having fun and not taking the competition so seriously. It helps with my focus when I'm actually playing serious. It helps to like separate that desire to like be the best while simultaneously just not sharpening like my creativity. So we'll just jump straight into it. First, we're gonna run single copy Ojama yellow, single copy Ojama black, single copy Ojama green. So it is in fact time that we make the Ojamas. I've been talking about these for like, I think like since like the birth of the channel, honestly, because I've always wanted to play them. I've just never had the chance really until now. So single copy of each, and I think one of the main things, or a lot of the main feedback that I've gotten while building the deck is like, why don't you run doubles? Why don't you run red, blue, pink, whatever? I don't think they're necessary, just because this deck is pretty easy to turbo out your Ojama King as well as an Ojama Knight pretty feasibly. And if you've been following us like more recently, you'll know why. It's because, of course, we use branded cards to just supplement the fusion process. So triple Aluber. At this point, I'm not gonna like explain to you guys how Aluber works. If you don't know by now, you just ain't getting it. Double copy Despia Tragedy. And of course, with double copies of Tragedy, if it's gonna be used, of course, my target when I banish or send it to grave is probably gonna be my ad libitum. So of course, you can probably tell what all is gonna be here just based on that. I have double Fallen Albaz, really great, super poly, just take cards right off your opponent's field. It's more to like clear any kind of problem cards that we need to get rid of. I think in this format, especially post tier limits, post Fluanderies, there's gonna be a lot of chaos cards just kind of floating around, and we really want to take advantage of it with, you know, your Albaz, your, you know, Bestials, your, you know, super polys, stuff like that. It's just an easy way of just kind of gaming your opponent. Next up, something you might not have expected is Alistair the Invoker. I running this at 3 copies so I can ensure that I get that invocation. It's something that is a little dated, but I think it's fun. It's interesting because the first iteration of this deck actually ran in such a way that I was turboing out Kaliga and Mekaba while also blocking out zones. And I think on average I would end up with like 3 zones and then the Mekaba Kaliga, but that's really all you need at that point. That being said, once I started adding in the branded cards, it kind of just made more sense to kind of rely more heavily on those. So while Alistair is in the deck, I am thinking about kind of moving him around and just playing around with what I see. Next up, I have a Edge Imp Chain and Edge Imp Sabers. Now, we don't very often use these cards, at least on the channel, but I'll go ahead and like kind of talk through what they do. So when this card declares an attack, you can add one edge imp chain from deck to hand, and that's not something that I use because I'm only running one copy, of course. But if it's sent from the hand or filled to the graveyard, you can actually add a Frightful card from deck to hand, which is the primary way that I use this card. Since I do only run one copy, that means I'm down to, you know, just my Saber. I've got ways of shuffling it back into the deck, of course, but, you know, ultimately, I try my best, if at all possible, to mitigate the chances of drawing into either of these. That's why I only have one per. And this one right here, if it's in the graveyard, you can place one card from your hand on top of the deck and then special summon this card in defense, which, I mean, honestly, I think that in itself is a solid way of dealing with, say, things like edge and chain. And I've seen a couple people play through, not necessarily Ojama, but other fusion-based decks and use, you know, Edge Imp and the Frightful Patchwork package, running multiple chains and multiple sabers, and I just don't think it's viable here. But, you know, to each their own. Next up, going triple Ghost Mourner. And that is quite literally the only hand trap that I have as of right now. Of course, this is I'd say V1, but it's V like 3 really of this deck. I haven't quite found the right justification to add anything else other than Ghost Mourner, but of course this is a really great option just to burn your opponent for some additional points. Really great negate option. There's those out here who don't know, you can negate as much as you want with this card. You just can't burn your opponent every, like, multiple times in turn. Some people didn't know that. I went to Region recently, and a guy was like, yeah, so I take damage equal to this? I was like, no, you don't take the damage. Like, it only happens once. Next up, triple copies. Ojama, which is a really great card, especially when paired with this next card, Branded Opening. So if you don't know what Ojama does, if it's sent from hand or field to the grave, yeah, hand or field to the grave, you add Ojama green, yellow, and black from your deck to hand. Branded Opening, of course, has the primary or the cost of discarding one card, and then, you know, at that point you special out your Aluber, which gets you next card, Branded Fusion, triple of those. And that really just opens you up to a lot of plays, and I tell people all the time, or I've told people that know about this deck several times, that if you open up with an Ojama and a Branded Opening, that's really kind of all you need. That's all you really super need to kind of get the job done. But there's some really great ways of supplementing that. For example, Magical Meltdown. Of course, get your Alistair. You get your Alistair, that means you can get your Invocation, which I'm running at 2 copies. 2 copies of Meltdown, 2 copies of Invocation. And the other card that I use to supplement that fusion, just get that extra spice, is to get that Frightful Patchwork. Really great way of putting that Saber or chain into hand, as well as a Polymerization, which of course means I'm running Polymerization. You know, I had to run the standard. Next up, I added in a Terraforming, although I'm thinking of cutting it just for the sake of consistency. I don't draw into it very often, but it is a great way of getting that Magical Meltdown to your hand, preventing your opponent from stopping your fusion summons is pretty insane. So I'm thinking about cutting it, but this is going to be an evolving deck as the time goes on. Next up, a single copy of Gold Sarcophagus, which this card right here is just if I need some extra help with branded, or not branded, with Despia. If for whatever reason I just have the perfect hand and I want to extend a little bit further, then I'll use Gold Sarcophagus, but it's actually also a placeholder. I think right now this build is at 42 cards and I want to keep it around there. So I keep cards like these that I think I could cut, just as a means of, you know, keeping an eye on specific cards that I might want to add, such as implementing, you know, my, say, branded in red or branded banishment, something of that nature, as well as just any other random tech cards that I might want to throw in. Of course, I run 2 polymerization. I really probably should run 3, but in testing, I found myself running into 2, or running 2 is a little bit more beneficial. I've drawn double polymerization a little bit too frequently for my comfort, and that leads me to my last set, which is triple super polymerization, which is another really great card for your Ojama magic, as well as clearing out your opponent's board should they have any chaos element cards. I think that's a really strong way of going through things. And again, I'll just kind of mention for reference, if you have a Fright for Patchwork, a Branded Opening, and an Ojama magic, you have a perfect hand already. And that's if you don't have anything else. If you literally only had these 3 cards, without any kind of disruption, this would be a perfect hand. That's why I'm thinking of adding in some more, say, like hand traps, some kind of protection just for these. They are meant to just kind of turbo out those Ojamas while putting some additional bulk on the field in case you need it. But those are the cards you need for a perfect hand. Of course, you Branded Opening, pitch the magic adds the 3, Fright for Patchwork, Saber, Poly. At this point, your Aluber has already added your Branded Fusion. So your Branded Fusion is just in hand. You can activate Poly and go straight into your triple if you'd like, or into your king if you'd like. From there, you can activate your Branded, go into Lubellion, pitch the Saber, and then you can go into your knight from there. So that's instant 5-card lock, and that's just with 3 cards. So next up, let's get into that extra deck. Of course, as you know, it means we're running 2 copies of Ojama King, and running 2 copies of Ojama Knight. And you know, honestly, I thought about running more. I thought about running more than just the 2 copies of each, but I wanted to leave some additional space just in case there was something I wanted to add in. So right now, this is for 13 cards. So I want to add in some probably link monsters just to kind of clear the field if I ever need it. Next up, I have my Invoke Mechaba. I added in Despian Quertus, as well as a Masquerade, just for the fact that I can summon it. They're not optimal cards to use. They're not like, oh, this would be the best card in the world, but if you do have to like kind of fall back, these are some really great cards just to bide your time. Your opponent, of course, is going to have to pay that 6, and they are running the risk of, you know, blanking out their monster's attack for a little bit, with the secondary special effect to, you know, special itself back out onto the field. I really think that if you just need a little bit of additional time, you have it. Next up, of course, as I already said, you've got your Lubellion. If you have Lubellion, of course, that means you have to have Albion. It means you have to have Mirror Jade, really easy cards to get into in this deck. And then from there, I added in just some standard super poly targets. This is like, you know, honestly peak 2005 stuff right here, because this is a fusion deck right here. This is not even the extra deck. So I threw in Starving Venom, as well as Draxtapelia and Trifoveritum, just because while I was in region, I actually had a lot of opportunities. I think I had 3 different opportunities to go into Trifoveritum. Of course, at the time I was playing Sword Soul, so I could not do that. But had I been running my branded deck, I would have. But yeah, that's it. This card right here, this deck has been really fun to test and play through. pissed a lot of people off on Dueling Nexus. I have not tested it live yet. I haven't tested it against anyone live yet. So I'm ready to kind of get it out there and just kind of see what it can do as a whole. If you have any suggestions on how to upgrade this further, you know, take a little stab in the comments and let me know what you think. Always open to suggestions, and I guess just be prepared for a update on this deck as it kind of gets tested further and get some more playthroughs, and I'll upload a test hand video at some point just to kind of talk through the way that I operate with this deck. Guys, oh gosh, what do you say at the end of the videos? If you like the video, then like the video. If you don't like the video, then leave a comment, tell us why, but then like the video anyway. I mean, that's all I can really say to you. You know, consider subscribing. I think we have a lot to offer, especially if you like kind of like random, goofy, silly cards like these. That's what I live for. And yeah. Nice. He is just like me for real. But I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.